why Jehovah does not like arrogance.
Thank you, Brother Larson, for that definition of arrogance. I guess maybe that big-headedness, and we've probably heard the expression fathead, right? We don't want to be a fathead. But when we think about our talk this evening on Jehovah blesses humility and punishes arrogance, we can see from the fulfilling of Jehovah's Bible prophecies, it's always exciting, isn't it? When we read in the scriptures of fulfillment of prophecy. Sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's bad, isn't it? Depending on which side of the fulfillment you're on. So we certainly want to be able to be sure that we are on the right side of a fulfillment of Bible prophecy, don't we? We look at our Bible prophecy that we studied, that we're reading about in Jeremiah, and his contemporaries of Isaiah and Daniel, and the ones that worked with him, Baruch. They worked for a long time as Jehovah's prophets, and they fulfilled their commission faithfully. They were loyal. They obeyed Jehovah. And Jehovah blessed them, didn't he? And they, with what? Not riches, not possessions, with their life, the most valuable thing they had. So really, if in obeying Jehovah, our life is what is in stake, even today. We want to have a good name with Jehovah. So all who humbly choose to follow the right course would benefit. And that was what we learned in Jeremiah's prophecy, didn't we? About what was to happen. But there in Isaiah, we open our Bible to Isaiah, the 50th chapter, the 4th through the 7th verses, Isaiah 54 through 7. It says, in those days and at that time, declares Jehovah, the people of Israel and the people of Judah will come together. They will weep as they walk, and together they will seek Jehovah their God. They will ask the way to Zion with their faces turned in that direction, saying, come, let us join ourselves to Jehovah in an everlasting covenant that will not be forgotten. My people have become a flock of lost sheep. Their own shepherds caused them to stray. They led them away into the mountainous roaming from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. All those finding them have devoured them, and their enemies have said, we are not guilty, because they sinned against Jehovah, against the dwelling place of righteousness and the hope of their forefathers, Jehovah. Well, Jehovah pronounced judgment upon all those that took advantage of his people, didn't he? So when we think about Jehovah's people leaving, the prophecy of them leaving, walking away from their captivity in Babylon, what a wonderful prophecy that was for them to look forward to, and Jehovah to lead them away from there. We start to think about what Jehovah was doing in carrying out his punishment. He carried that out because they had turned away from Jehovah, didn't he? He punished them because they had failed to be loyal to him. In their returning to Jerusalem, there was no obstacle, wasn't there? Not even a stone to strike their feet against. Jehovah took all those obstacles away, and because they had been loyal to him, even in captivity, they followed the direction that Jehovah had given them. But we might ask, why would Jehovah punish the one who he had carry out his judgments? Well, it was because of that arrogance that Brother Larson mentioned. If we look at Jeremiah 50, 29 there, in verse 29, it says, summon archers against Babylon, all who are bending the bow. Camp all around her, let no one escape. Repay her according to her activity. Do to her just as she has done, for she has acted arrogantly against Jehovah, against the Holy One of Israel. So there is where Babylon fell short. They weren't told to oppress Jehovah's people, but they did, didn't they? When we think about the further verse there in 31 again, we see him say, look, I am against you, O defiant one. He calls Babylon a defiant one. Verse 32, O defiant one will stumble and fall, with no one to raise you up, and I set your cities on fire. Verse 32 goes on, he says, 32 goes on, he says, I will consume everything around you. So nothing was left of Babylon after that destruction, was it? Yes, Jehovah's people were faithful, and he did allow them to be taken captive. It was a form of discipline, wasn't it? But they were still his people. They were still alive, and Jehovah is alive. Their enemies, though, they drew the wrong conclusion, didn't they?
He was talking about
They
Babylon.
took advantage of the situation.
Yes.
They took the credit. They gave the credit for the position that Jehovah's people were in them in captivity to their gods. So there's in 38 and 39 says there's a devastation on her waters, and they will be dried up. For it is a land of graven images, and because of her frightful visions, they keep acting with madness. Therefore the desert creatures will dwell with the howling animals, and in her the ostrich will dwell. She will never again be inhabited. And of course we see that in the picture, don't we? The jackal and the snake and the ostrich. Of course, even those animals, like the ostrich, no longer existed there. They were hunted out. So, but it's still a waste. It's a rubble and stone today. Babylon fell in one night to the armies of Medes and the Persians. But when we see what is going to happen in the world today, how does this all affect us? Well, just think about it. If we remain loyal and on the path that Jehovah puts us on, we can walk right through the coming destruction of Babylon the Great. And we can walk right through the destruction of the arrogant rulers of this system of things. And we can walk right on in to that new Zion, that new mountain of true worship that Jehovah is going to establish in that new earth. So we're looking forward to that, aren't we? And we'll be able to, Jehovah will provide